Greetings, my peoples. How is everybody doing? As always, where are you joining from? Give me a shout out in the comments if you're on Instagram or if you're on Facebook or on YouTube. Let me know where you're joining from and your name, especially if you're on Instagram, because Instagram handles are very different. Ben is joining this from a plane on the way to San Francisco. Well, I hope you have a safe flight. And I never knew that the planes had such good Wi-Fi that you could stream a live chat. I am impressed. I need to get on one of those flights. Who are you flying with, Ben? If it's not United, I might be screwed, but I'll still look it up at least. So again, whoever is joining this monthly live chat, we are number 20, which is pretty wild, I think. So we're on number 20 of this live chat. Today's topic is a hot topic. I think I feel like all the topics that we've discussed on these live chats are pretty important, but I think when it comes to topics that are specifically related to dancing or not dancing, dating, I think everyone kind of wants to get in on that, share their experiences, share their thoughts and opinions, and ideally, get some advice that can help improve those relationships that we enter into. So that is what today's topic is going to be about. So again, for those of you who don't know, this monthly live chat happens every month. Goes without saying. I usually go live on Facebook, YouTube, on my Facebook profile, Facebook page, YouTube, and on Instagram simultaneously. That way I can kind of reach all of you on the platforms that you're most comfortable getting online with. The live chat replays are always available on my YouTube channel. So if for whatever reason you missed this, or you wanted to get in on the conversation, or you have to pop out at any time, you can always watch the entire replay over there. And YouTube has this fantastic feature, which is called clips. So if you find a clip that actually resonates really well with you, you can always just clip that and share that. And if you do share it, tag me. A couple of other things with the live chat. There are the simple basics of the live chat. If you've been on my Instagram or on my Facebook, you've seen some of the reels that I posted about the purpose of the live chat. The reason I do these is because we have so many things that we're all dealing with, right? Where everyone's going through it at some point in their life. And sometimes we feel quite alone in those instances. But in reality, there's a lot of other people out there dealing with the same thing. And my purpose with these live chats is to find those topics that are important to you, that do resonate with you, that you would like some conversation, discussion, answers to, and bring that to the forefront because I, at my very youthful age of 41, have gone through my own share of experiences. And there's a lot of lessons that I've learned and a lot that I have actually learned from all of you, especially in your comments, in your discussions, in the feedback that you share, that I would like to share on a more public platform so that everyone who's watching can have access to that information. One of the ways that the live chats are successful is through questions, right? I've always said this, questions are the key to deepening your understanding and making the information that you are receiving personable and relatable and applicable. Because there's a lot of information that we get that if we don't actually ask a question, we don't necessarily know where it relates to us sometimes. A lot of the information out there can be quite generic sometimes. And so by asking a question, especially if it's something that you would want to understand further, you really bring that topic, that discussion to you, and you can benefit even more from that discussion, the Q&A, this live chat for that reason. Okay. So again, if you are joining, throw a comment into the chat, or if you are here on Instagram, let me know where you are joining from. And if you're on Instagram, please, please, please say your name so that I can not butcher your Instagram handle. Okay. I have friends going too. All right, on Instagram, Alaska Airlines. Oh, but T-Mobile gives you in-flight internet. Ooh, okay. Good to know. Glad to hear it. We have Ihan in the house from Istanbul, but Berlin now, currently over there. Also, oh, I forgot to mention for my people on Instagram, if you are posing a question, please throw the question into the little question mark at the bottom right, because sometimes when more people are joining on Instagram, it starts to scroll and it becomes really hard for me to go and find those questions that you posted. But in the question thing, the little question mark, if I click on that, I can see your question immediately. Okay. Mark Anthony, one of my oldest friends in salsa from Toronto. Um, I don't actually know where you are now, Mark. What a friendship, eh? Adam from Cincinnati, Tampa, Florida in the house. We got Maria from Raleigh, Sherelle from Toronto, T. Dot, that's my home city. Moimen from Brooklyn. Cool, cool, cool. So one of the things I love about the live chats is how international the audience can be. So again, throw your location into the comment or into the chat because that makes me happy. All right. And finally, before we get into the topic, is as you know, there is a feedback form for all of these live chats on YouTube. You can see it in the links. On Facebook, I believe if you look in the description, you can see it in the links there as well. If you don't have it or see it in the links, you can always go to magnagopal.com/feedback, or just go to my website, go to the contact section, and you'll see the feedback form there. The reason for the feedback is because, again, the purpose of these live chats is to bring some information, bring some discussion, some conversation, and touch upon the experiences that we've all had, and ideally try to improve the ones that we have in the future. And one of the ways that I can know if I'm doing a good job with not only the topics, but the discussion and hopefully answering your questions is through this feedback form. And of course, there's a way for you to communicate with me privately there if there's something that you'd like to share personally, that you'd like me to address, but you want me to address it anonymously. That is one of the best places to do that. And of course, if you would like to show more support to these live chats, to me, you can hit like, subscribe, share the live chat. If you want to show even more support on Facebook and on YouTube, you guys have a link there for Ko-fi, coffee. I still don't know exactly how that, I mean, I'm assuming it's coffee, but it looks like with a K-O. And so it makes me want to say co for some reason. Anyways, coffee.com. There's a link there if you want to throw, buy me a coffee, you can do that. And on Instagram, you guys can do that with a badge. All right. So we got Mark from Texas, William from Hawaii, aloha, and Wade from New York. Okay. So today's topic is dating in the dance scene. Have you had any experience with this? You can throw whatever hand emoji, raise your hand if you have. And if you haven't, have you known anyone that's had any experience with dating in the dance scene? I feel like if you've been in here long enough, and me over 2 decades now, I think you've had some experience with dating in the dance scene. Yes, yes is in the Instagram, my Facebook and YouTube. You guys don't want to share, perhaps, but I'm going to assume for you that you have. And if you haven't, you know somebody that has. Oh, John Garcia in the house with a face palm. Yes, that it. I think that's most of our. For those of us who have not had successful, long-lasting marriages and families that have been created as a result of the partners that we met in the dance scene, yes, it's often this like, yes, I've dated in the dance scene type of thing, right? Hey, Bear, yes, also here. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, good. At least this will be a relatable topic then. Fantastic. And Irina, hi, from Belarus, right? I'm losing my memory. So what are the pros and cons of dating in the dance scene? The comments that I got, for the most part, as far as pros are concerned, if I could summarize that, it was sharing a passion, understanding each other and the community that you're involved in, more shared time together, a practice partner, which often, especially when we're starting out, we're always looking for a practice partner. And sometimes we're not even looking for the relationship, but we're looking for the practice partner. And then the practice partner becomes the relationship, right? Or vice versa. And then obviously you get the opportunity to do a lot more of the thing that you love with somebody that you love, right? That's ideally the goal when it comes to dating. And that's one of the pros that we can immediately see, right? And most of the time when we meet somebody and we connect with someone, we have this kind of a beautiful view, right? An idealistic view of what this could be and what this could become. And we sometimes neglect to ask some important questions as to the potential of it not being this rosy future, right? And that's what sometimes leads to cons in the dating scene, right? Um, I got one more pro here. You can plan everything together as a pro and a con. Yes, that is true. Uh, Another person said, my experience ended bad. You have to see their face and the social events gets awkward. Indeed. So yeah, if you have any experiences, pros and cons with your own personal dating experience, or someone you know that has gone through something, throw it into the comments. I'll share it in between as we go through these topics. For the pros, for there are plenty of people I know personally who have met their partner in the dance scene. They're now happily married. They've got a family, and they love doing everything together, including dancing, and they're still dancing. Because that happens too. You meet somebody in the dance scene, and then all of a sudden, you know, screw dance, right? That all I need is my partner, and this is really why I came into the dance in the first place, to meet somebody. Now I don't really need the dance anymore, right? So that tends to happen as well. The pros, at least what I've realized and what I've observed, and when things have worked out for me as well in my past, has been the things that contribute to that healthy relationship. And we've talked about this many times in our live chats, is communication, right? One of the most important things to be communicated for a healthy relationship is your intentions, right? Is what is your intention with that person? What do you want from this person? What does that person want from you? And are you guys on the same level? That sometimes does take place in the dance scene effectively, right? There's this feeling where you're like, and maybe it starts off casually even, right? You're like, yeah, I don't want anything serious. It's just great that we share the same passion and we can kind of hook up and just have fun with all of this. But then as time progresses, feelings change and your intentions change and your desire and the things that you want also change. And this is one of the places where the problems start to happen, is because, yes, we're comfortable explaining or expressing rather what we want from somebody in that moment. But as things change, we almost don't want to express it because we feel like, well, this is so good. Why ruin it by communicating this change in what I'm feeling? Or we're scared, of losing it, or we're we're almost it's almost like feeling this desire to keep what you have on a pretense of what it is, right? You think that there's a relationship and there isn't, because you've agreed that this is something very casual, it's not serious and exclusive, and you want to pretend that it is serious and exclusive, but you never actually talked about it, right? And so this tends to, on many occasions, contribute to a lot of stress and tension in those relationships. Healthy relationships, I find, communicate this very effectively. You're dating somebody, even if you started by just being practice partners and that's what you want, now you're hanging out and spending time and grabbing lunch, and then one person starts to have an interest, a more of a romantic interest in the other person. The other person says, yes, me too, but you're not really interested in a serious relationship. So you both communicate that everything's good. And then later feelings start to deepen and start to progress, and the relationship starts to progress. And instead of assuming what's happening and where it's going and that the other person is on the same wavelength as you communicate that too. You say, hey, listen, you know what? It's been going on like this for quite some time. I really like you. I hope you feel the same way, and I would love to take this to another level of being exclusive and being in a more official relationship status, right? Not by Facebook status, but just a personal official relationship status. And again, there's an agreement, there's communication there, and from there you move forward, right? That is what I think personally has contributed to the successful relationships, not just in dance, but also beyond dance, right? Communication is key. The other element that I would say is super key to the effective relationships that take place is a level of respect, which um, can vary, right? Our definition of what's respectful or disrespectful can vary based on our own standards and our own experiences and our own triggers, right? Someone who is very free spirited and who's perhaps never been cheated on and or anything like that might not have triggers of intimate physical contact with somebody else. I'm not talking about sex or kissing or anything like that, but just really close proximity with someone else. They might not have those triggers, but they might be dating somebody who has had these experiences in their past. And as a result, when this person is now super physically close with other people, they feel triggered and they feel offended and they feel disrespected. When in reality, this person is not trying to disrespect them, they're just being themselves, right? So respect is key. But again, even with respect, there is this element of communication, right? There's no way for me to know what it is that you want, what you feel triggered by, what would offend you, what would make you feel disrespected if I don't communicate with you and you don't communicate with me. All right. Healthy relationships are all about communication. And through that communication, you can find the agreements, you can find growth together, or you can find an ending, right? And a respectful ending at that. We're going to get into the cons momentarily, and there are a couple of specific categories that I had listed down as the main things that I've experienced personally, as well as what I have seen and heard from close friends that have also experienced kind of ugly breakups, right? So let me just go into a couple of comments. Whoever's here, again, if you're just joining now, you missed the intro, but it's all about the pros, which is probably not why you're joining anyways today, right? But throw in the chat if you're on YouTube or on Facebook, where are you joining from? Because I'd like to give you a shout out and I'd like to know that too. Martha in the house, Spain. Alex from Brazil. Some of you people don't even say where you're from because you're like, Magna, you better know. I've been here every single damn time, so you should know exactly where I'm from. James from Cali. Lonely Salsa Heart reporting for duty. Oh, James. I've got Fran here. My partner is a non-dancer, but I wish we had a time-consuming hobby or passion, as I often feel guilty for going out so much. That is a challenge. Dating out of the scene, absolutely. Loco Shiva, hello. I'm just going to scroll up a little bit. This is the challenge with Instagram. It's really hard to like see all the comments there. I'm just going to address some of these first before we continue. Hey Bear said, pros, dancing everywhere and it's fun. Cons, you see them everywhere, and or you have to avoid certain socials altogether for a while. And salsa social associates choose sides. Either they hang with you or the other person. Oops, what did I do there? And then also those who are married via the dance scene, many blessings. I know a bunch of them, and they do vanish off the scene. Yes, I agree. I've seen that and experienced that too. Ben said, every time I've seen somebody find a significant other in the scene, they disappear from the dance scene. If they come back, they broke up. I noticed that with bachata, there is more hooking up. Interesting. On a serious note, the pros that we can work towards the same goals together, but the con is that it starts working as a pressure on each other to be excelling and giving their best. That is a very interesting con to express. I never actually thought about it like that. I guess it depends on the level of the dancers that are interacting or the level of the dancers when they meet each other. Like if you are both beginner students or intermediate students or on the same performance team, now all of a sudden you're both training together. So why is one person progressing faster than the other? And now there becomes this comparison and this pressure, as you mentioned, which is a really great point, Bonnie. Thank you. Okay, so again, Instagram. I hate Instagram. I really wish there was a way that things would not just all over the place. Okay. I do apologize for this moment of scrolling. A big con I mentioned before, self associates take sides. Yep. Uh, Norway in the house. Love from Trinidad. Woo! And Portugal. Wepa. Okay. Tiago Mambo. That is my friend James from Hawaii, another person from Hawaii. Raymond from San Antonio, South Africa, Sweden. Yeah, this is what I like. Love it. Okay, so cons, right? We just heard a couple of cons that people mentioned in Instagram, my Facebook, and YouTube folks. You are, I guess you're not going to mention the cons, but we will discuss them anyways. So, some of the cons, one of the cons that was mentioned here was this interesting approach, which again I never thought of, and nobody else mentioned it in the comments on Facebook about the pressure that two dancers who are together, who are kind of at the same level when they meet, the pressure that can place um, on them to excel at the same level so that they can maintain that connection. But a couple of the cons that did come up in a lot of the comments, and cons that I personally have experienced myself: lack of privacy, cheating, ugly breakups, as Heber mentioned, seeing the person with somebody else, especially after a breakup, ideally, hopefully not during, although that would be the cheating part. And then this difficulty in engaging in your passion with the same enthusiasm, right? That could be actually a con, not even, yeah, that would be a con if you're dating, but could definitely be a con if you break up, especially as Heber mentioned, that sometimes people choose sides. So obviously, if you get into a relationship and you're in the dance scene, and you met in the dance scene, let's say you met in dance school or a dance team or the dance community, the same local club that you've been frequenting, both of you have been frequenting many times, then naturally you probably both have a circle of friends that overlap. And as a result of a breakup, sometimes people take sides. You know, everyone has their opinion, everyone has a friend that they're generally closer to. I know that personally for myself. There are relationships that I have witnessed where it's one of my closest friends with somebody else. And of course, I welcome that other person with open arms. But when that relationship ends, is not to say that I'm choosing a side, but I'm just going back to putting the effort into the person that was actually the person in my life, right? Unfortunately, sometimes this can get a little uglier because of the stories that we tell, which we will get into momentarily. All right. So a couple more comments here. Jason, my wife and I are married and dancers. However, the challenge is that she thinks we always must go out together to dance. Another con, I would say personally, because sometimes I want to go out and the person I'm with does not want to go out, and then you do what you want to do, and I'll come back home later to you. You know. Ben said, I can only assume the biggest con is the awkwardness of seeing each other in what you consider your space. Touche. Bonnie, I think cheating is anywhere not to do with if you're both dancers or not. Absolutely. In fact, if both are dancers, chances are only you know if your partner is cheating than if you are not. And a big con is people stopping dancing from a while or altogether due to its association or memory of their ex. Yep, agreed. Okay, so let's talk about these cons a little bit more individually, right? One of the cons is related to the issue of privacy. Now, this topic and me approaching this topic is not with any intent of bashing anybody. All right. If you feel personally finger pointed to, reflect, right? But it's to say, like, I have experienced many things in this dance scene. I am, I've done my share of things that I would not do now. Things I've said or the way I've reacted to certain things that I think in retrospect were quite immature, were not a showcase of integrity, were not respectful. But in general, I have learned through this process, through my life. And my goal is to always be better and to take these experiences as learning experiences. So I'm not bashing anyone because that would be like me, sitting in a glass house throwing rocks, right? I have no right to. So please don't look at anything that I'm saying as that. Um, my goal with this is really just to help us all understand relationships, to choose wisely, and to find a way to maintain our passion. Because the worst thing about the dating and the dancing part of it versus dating outside of it is that there's this association of the dance community and the memory of your relationship that often prevents people from coming back to the dance scene, or they dislike it, and they just give up. And dance for me, I've been in it now for 22 years, almost 23 years, right? It is one of the most beautiful things that I have been fortunate enough to stumble upon and then build a career out of. I am very fortunate for all the connections that I've made, all of the experiences that I've had, good and bad, all the places that I've seen. And I would not encourage anyone to leave it, right? There's so much benefit to be had. The pros and cons to just dance itself are pros and cons of down here. Okay. That's how I feel. And that's why I want to address this topic, because I know a lot of people, and myself included, have gone through ugly experiences when it comes to dating in the dance scene. And I don't want anyone else to give up. I want you guys to continue to pursue your passion, but I want you to do it in a way that's healthy and respectful. Okay. So, privacy, right? Let's talk about privacy first. There are approaches to privacy. Everyone has a different approach. There are some people that broadcast everything online, within dance or outside of dance, where you change your status and now your profile picture is with you and your significant other. Every post that you make is now about you guys. Everything is about, oh, we did this together. Oh, I love this person. La 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 la. Right? That's fine. That's beautiful. I'm glad that you're experiencing something that's so inspiring to you that you feel this desire to share with the entire world, right? That's amazing. That's amazing that you are experiencing that, first of all, right? However, when it comes to publicizing everything, you have to understand that people start to see patterns, right? So if everything that you're doing is posting something, I love this person, oh, me and so did this today, and oh my God, like, look at us here, look at us there. When there's a week that you didn't post anything, well, everyone's going to start to assume, I wonder what happened between them. Why is this person not posting anything? Oh, she just posted something about her food, and didn't even include him in the picture. That means they're not eating together. Oh no, right? There's a lot of speculation and things like that happen as a result of making things public. I'm not discouraging you from posting what inspires you, what makes you happy. I think you should do that, but just be mindful. Again, the purpose of this live chat today is not to tell you what to do and what not to do per se, as much as it is for you to think about what you are doing, what you want to do, and assess more than just the present satisfaction attached to it, right? Because everything we do has repercussions, positive or negative. There's a ripple effect to everything that we do. And when it comes to privacy of relationships, this is one of those ripple effects. People get to know you, people will rejoice in the things that you're sharing, but the moment you stop sharing things, people will start to assume the worst, you know? And then there comes all the questions of, hey, so how's things going with so and so, right? And really, at that point, when things are good, right, we want to broadcast everything to the world. But when things are bad, we tend to, um, you know, go back into our shell, and we're almost ashamed sometimes to admit that something isn't working. And the last thing we want to do is share that with some random person who's messaging us because they've been messaging and interacting with everything else that we've been sharing that was positive, right? So the more you share on these levels of your private, intimate life, um, and the more people interact and engage with it, the other people feel connected to it, right? It's like if I'm always sharing something with my puppy, if I don't have a puppy, I wish. But if I'm always sharing something with my puppy, everyone's like, "Hey, how's your puppy?" Like, because they've seen so much of my puppy that they're connected to the puppy, right? Virtually, even if I've never met them before. And this tends to happen with our relationships too, right? Even though there are people out there who are not your close friends. These are acquaintances in the community, or they're just virtual connections that you've made however you've made them, right? On Facebook, Instagram, whatever, they feel connected to the things that you are sharing, right? And so that is a repercussion of putting everything out there and saying, hey, look at all this good stuff, good stuff, good stuff. And then there's a period of time that you're not posting anything, and all of a sudden, the worst is assumed, right? There's also another way to approach privacy. Again, like I said, do you, okay? But just be mindful of what can happen when you're not doing that thing that you've been doing regularly for the past month or something, okay? The other element of privacy, which is there are a lot of curious people, right? I could negatively say nosy, okay, or gossipy or whatever, but let's use a more positive connotation or a word, curious, right? People are curious. They see something like, oh, this person looks different. Why are they different? Oh, this person looks really happy. I wonder what happened in their life. Like they're glowing, right? All of these things. People are curious by nature, I hope. And I definitely advocate for curiosity, especially when it comes to dance, because that's how I've gotten creative. That's how I've grown personally in every aspect of my life, is by being curious and asking why and what and how, right? But in an intimate setting, intimate relationships, people are curious. And so, depending on your relationship with other people, they might feel comfortable enough to ask you something. Now, most often when we are asked something, like let's say, hey, are you dating so and so? Or, hey, did you go to this place? Right? Hey, were you at this event? Our natural response is to answer the question, right? Yeah, I was there. Yeah, I was at this event. Yes, I did eat that. Yes, I did see this, right? Yes, I am dating this person. Or no, I don't, it's kind of casual. Our tendency is to want to go blah, 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 and just share everything, right? And then there are other situations where we don't really want to share, but we don't know how to get out of it. And we kind of want to tell somebody that's not their business, but we don't want to be rude about it either, right? One of my suggestions, and this has worked for me very well, is to answer those questions with a why. Okay. Someone asks you, hey, are you dating someone, dating X person or dating someone, whatever? Why? Why do you want to know? Right? Oh, I'm just curious. Yes, but why? Why are you curious? Like, what will this information provide to you? Why do you want to know? And slowly, slowly, you will see that they'll just kind of dig themselves into a place where it's clear that that information has absolutely no use to them. It is of no benefit to them. There's nothing that's going to add value to their life by knowing this information. And the only reason that they want to know it is to know it. And those are ways to keep things private. So, personally, if you want a little piece of advice, that is one way that you can do that. If someone's asking you something that you do not want to share, just ask them why. Why do you want to know? And if they say, well, I'm just curious, well, that's not a really good reason. Why? Why do you want to know? Why are you so curious? Right? What is this to you? And almost always people back down. That is my kind of standard response because for me, as far as privacy is concerned, I've had a very public relationship in the dance community. And, not to speak ill of the relationship or the person, because that's irrelevant. I did not like the fact that it was public because I did exactly what I just told you you should be mindful of not doing, right? I posted everything. There were pictures, there was this, oh, we did this, oh, we're doing this now. Look at us here, look at us there. And then when things were not working and the relationship was ending and ended, obviously I'm not posting any of these things. I changed my Facebook status, right? Like, and seeing as the world was already involved, right? And my community, my fans and friends and connections online are quite a few. There are a lot of questions that I was getting, and I didn't want to share this, and I didn't want to talk about this, and so since then, I have kept my personal life, my intimate personal life, as private as possible. Out of respect for myself, out of respect for the things that mean something to me that I'd like to have that are my own, but also as a respect to the person I'm dating because nobody needs to know. At the end of the day, it's no one's business, right? So sure, maybe I'll share something like a picture if I'm out at some dinner with someone, maybe, right? But even then, it's like I can enjoy this moment with this person and have a great time and feel loved and appreciated and show love and appreciation. And this does not, to me, this, the next step does not need to be post, right? The posting part doesn't add value to anything, really. It's not that it takes value away either, but it doesn't add value for sure, right? Um, I'm going to address a couple of comments and then go into some other stuff. Today's live chat, I do apologize, is going to be a little bit longer than usual, which is long anyways. Sorry. But it's just such an important topic, because I've just recently heard from two close friends, who are dealing with something difficult, and it hurts me because I see their pain. I've been in those shoes and I've felt that pain, and I wished I could find a way for them to not have to deal with it at all. But that's not life, right? Life is not about avoiding the struggles. Life is about confronting those struggles. And the next time you're confronted with them, hopefully you are better equipped with more tools, more experience, more knowledge, more awareness that you can actually make better choices, right? So that's why I really want to go into this topic and detail. And then, of course, we can always, offshoot, go into some other stuff. So let me just see some of these comments that are here on Instagram. I absolutely hate Instagram's thingy scrolling thing. Oh, blessings over 20 years. Yeah. Damn. Instagram is really okay. Ezra says, I'm glad I grew up before Zuckerberg ever went to college. Touche. I think I got in on it just when Facebook replaced MySpace. So I was on MySpace, and that's probably dating me too. Patience is a virtue. Answers come. I remember sending regards to someone and her boyfriend. She immediately felt offended that I mentioned him. I didn't even know they broke up. Oh, that's another thing. Wow, what a great aspect of privacy, right? Like, you don't even you might be following someone, you might see a post, right? And here's now your impression that this person is in a relationship with this other person, and then you're not seeing any posts, and for whatever reason you reach out to this person, and the last thing you remember, the last connection you made, is the post that this person created that said, me and so we're so in love, and you make a comment relating to that their partner, and they're no longer together, and now this person feels like you're being insensitive for coming out and being considerate based on your previous knowledge, right? So that's another thing too, right? If someone's following you and someone's seeing all of your posts, they're not necessarily seeing every single thing that you post, right? So not everyone's going to be up to date. People are going to be up to date based on the last thing that they have seen. And that might not be the last and most current thing in your actual life and in your relationship. Excellent point, James. I love that. Hyper said, as long as my close friends and family and her friends and family know, I am okay. I feel the same way. My closest friends tend to know almost everything about my life. And and that's good. That's good enough for me. Maybe also says a private life is a happy life. Sorry, I don't post who I'm dating, whether she's a dancer or not. Learned my lesson in my early mid-20s. And as you said, I'm a firm believer that not everything belongs on the internet. Yep, I believe that too. Okay, and then we're going to get over here in a second. Let me just, okay, cool. And Raj said, they're probably trying to see if you're available or they have a crush on your partner. I'm guessing as for if I was asking them back, why are you interested? Well, then state your reason, right? And me not being available, if someone did say, are you available? And me saying I'm not available does not mean I'm with somebody. That just means I'm not available. Like, you are free to infer whatever you want to infer, but that's on you. I didn't tell you anything. I didn't say I'm with someone and that's why I'm not available. I might not be available to you. I might not be available to anybody, or I might be with somebody else. And as a result, I'm not available. What is going on with this cord? Challenge with multiple things. All right. So next up, some comments here. This is Andy from UK. Briefly, my student became my partner, then my dance partner. Was good for 5 years, then we broke up. I've been teaching my classes for 15 years. When she cheated and left, she wanted half of the classes. Was a difficult time. that is another level entirely, right? There's a relationships where you're dating in a social context, right? But there's another element where your relationship turns into a business context, right? Yeah, I'm sure everyone's heard that comment, like "Don't shit where you eat," you know. Um, Again, I've seen many successful partnerships, business partnerships, intimate partnerships that are all connected like this, and they have worked. And to those people, more power to you. Hopefully they can maybe, be interviewed or something to tell us what their secret to success is. But that is a risk you take, right? You don't know. And I'm going to get into that part. So keep that on the forefront. To ask that question is them trying to see if you're, yeah, okay, we got that. Okay, so next point is um, how to handle cheating. nice, smooth intro into this, right? So, how to handle cheating in the dancing. Exclusivity, let's go back to communication. Exclusivity is something that needs to be communicated, okay? What constitutes cheating, infidelity also needs to be communicated because for some people, you spending too much time talking to somebody else who is another attractive person who to this one person looks like flirting might be considered cheating. To another person, making out with somebody might not be considered cheating, but sleeping with them might be considered cheating, right? These are things that vary person to person, right? There are even relationships. There are relationships that are open relationships, and so, yeah, you could be with somebody else, right? But what degree, right? Those are things that need to be communicated. And if you can't communicate these things, you do not have the basis for any type of healthy relationship. I don't even care if your relationship is a casual relationship. Point is, you still need to discuss these things with each other and define what is exclusivity, what is respect, what is cheating, what is acceptable behavior, what is unacceptable behavior, right? Um, in addition to that, and Renee, you just touched on it, I think jealousy is the dominant factor that ruins a relationship on the dance floor. Well, jealousy is again two parts. There's one which is our personal triggers and experiences that we've had that we sometimes forget are actually from the past, and we project and put them on to the person in the present and assume that just because this person in the present is doing something similar to what this person in the past did and that person ended up cheating, this person is also going to end up cheating. And that is an assumption that we're making. That is our failure to understand our own triggers, right? And our own insecurities based on our past experiences. However, the jealousy is still something about communication, like if I truly love somebody, right? I'm with someone, I respect them, I appreciate them, I want to be with them, I want this relationship with this person to grow. And this person tells me, hey, look, Magna, the fact that you give everybody a big hug, especially the guys, bothers me. you know I'm gonna have to think about that, right? If they say, "Hey, listen, I don't want you talking to your exes," right? Sure, maybe we can discuss that, okay? But if they're like, "Oh, the fact that you hug people with a big hug, that's a that's me. That's my personality. I do that with everybody, guys and girls, old people, young people, little kids, everybody. If you have a problem with that, you have a problem with who I am as a person. And now I'm not going to sit there and do that and stay in the relationship and give them reason to be jealous. I'm going to end that relationship because clearly we're not on the same page, in terms of what we think is acceptable and unacceptable behavior. Again, it doesn't mean that what you're doing or what you would do is unacceptable, but it needs to be communicated clearly so that the person you're with does not feel disrespected by it, right? So that, I think, Renee, kind of goes into that whole jealousy thing in relationships. Um, and I also want to say on the topic of like exclusivity, right? Is not every relationship is for you. Just because you're have a chemistry, just because you're attracted to someone does not, and the other person is attracted to you, doesn't mean that it's a relationship, right? You might be really excited about a job. Let's say, for example, you're like, "Ooh, CEO of this company. Wow, and they're going to accept me. Wow, fantastic." Well, one of the requirements of that job is being at work at 5 a.m. and you don't wake up until 8. You need a job that starts at 9. And as much as enticing as being CEO is, being in that company, this is not the job for you. So similar to that, if you want to compare it to exclusivity, if you have a problem with certain things, or restricting or restraining certain behaviors, then that's not the relationship for you. There's nothing wrong with going to work at 9. Plenty of people go to work at 9, right? But don't try and take that job at 5, um, only to disappoint that person by showing up at 9 every time. You know what I mean? So there's that element of cheating. The other element of cheating is the forgiveness part. Okay. I know many people. I have been on that side, and I've been on the cheating side too when I was much younger, of forgiveness, right? Some people do change. I believe that. Some people do change. Um, but the change is not so much in saying, oh, I'm not going to do this again. Because in reality, cheating is not a one step process. It's not like we're here one moment talking and then you snap a finger, you blink your eyes, and then all of a sudden we're in bed together having sex. No, cheating is multiple steps, which means that there are many chances for you to see what's going on and for you to put a stop to it. So even if you don't do it again, right? And who's to say? That's a we'll see type of answer to that scenario. Who knows, right? Maybe the next time you do it, you hide it better, right? But um, if if even if you're not going to cheat again, what I take from those steps, and there are multiple steps, you're exercised poor judgment at every step. You know, at every step, you had a chance to think about us, me, yourself. You're like respecting this relationship, and you chose not to, and you progressed to the next step and the next step. And so it's not so much the actual act of cheating, it is the judgment call that I would make it on. So forgiveness for me in a situation of cheating, if my partner cheats today, especially from all my experiences, what I've learned being on the side of being cheated on and having cheated on someone in my past, like I realized that there's a problem there. Like the fact that I can go from talking to you at a club to, yeah, sure, let's go get a drink. Sure, let's consume a bunch of alcohol so that my inhibitions are gone. And yeah, okay, sure, let's go have a nightcap at your place. And oh, yeah, we can sit together next to each other. You can put your arm around me. Yeah, yeah, I am hot. Let's take these clothes off. Yeah, we could sit in the room in the bed because it's more comfortable. There are so many steps where I'm exercising poor judgment if that's what I'm doing. And so for me, situations with cheating, why I have a difficult time forgiving it is because it's too many stages at which you could have prevented it, with which you show disrespect, not just the act. The act is the culmination of it all, the cherry on the cake. But in reality, there are many, many, many stages of disrespect and the lack of consideration. And that's what I have a difficult time forgiving. Right. So that's that. Going back to some comments real quickly. I recently saw a video of a man dancing with someone who was not his girlfriend, and everyone scolded him. I felt that wasn't fair because they don't know what's going on in that person's life. Absolutely. But again, because I guess everyone knows that this guy has a girlfriend and, you know, thinks that whatever he's doing is inappropriate because they feel like they're in that relationship, sometimes happens. Heber said, a lot of ladies, they will say hi and hug me left and right. Well, Heber, you know, my hugs are the best hugs. And you get crazy big hugs, especially when we can play our little paddywhack game, and I get excited about that. Jealousy is an emotion. Once you learn to control this, you'll know how to live better. Communication is a big thing. I've told my past dates in the scene, and I've been dancing for years, so I know. I agree with you on that. So cheating and dancing. Strong, secure people don't have time for insecurity. If someone who's a dancer has a problem with you hugging people, they need to get out of the scene. Touche, right? Cannot relate as I've never been cheated on the dancing as far as I know. Damn, must be rough. Yeah. Okay. What about the one night stand? Somebody asked. A one night again, where's your one night stand? Do you think you just met somebody and boom, ended up in their hotel room or in their apartment or something? No. There are so many stages to those one night stands. Every step before you get to being naked and doing whatever you're doing, there are many stages before you get there. That is the lack of judgment or the poor exercise in judgment. Okay. Coming over here. Hi, Florte from Curaçao. Tropics make people do crazy things. You know what? There are so many things that can make people do crazy things. If you want to relinquish responsibility for your actions, go ahead and say it's the warm weather, it's the outfit, it's the alcohol, it's this, it's that. But if you don't know how to control yourself when you have 10 drinks, don't have 10 drinks. Have 8, have 9, right? If at 9 you still have your wits about you, then don't have 10 drinks. If at 10 drinks you start to be flirty, overly touchy, and might end up doing something that you're going to regret later, don't have 10 drinks. If hot weather makes you, like tropical weather, well, you know what? Stay in an air conditioned environment. Don't take that vacation without your specific other to a tropical place, right? What I'm saying is, don't make excuses for choices that you are making. Take responsibility, own them, acknowledge what you did, acknowledge the various steps before you actually did the final act that's now considered the cheating, right? Like, acknowledge that, take responsibility. Because if you can't take responsibility, and if you want to shift that responsibility to the weather, to the climate, to the location, to the outfit, to the alcohol, to the friends, to the peer pressure, whatever the hell it is, you are not taking responsibility. You're not a mature adult. And thank you for not doing that, because I would like to date a mature adult. And so if I don't want to date someone who can't take responsibility for their own actions, thank you for showing me a very, very clear red flag. And I will take my cue and leave that relationship in that situation. Okay, so I'm going to answer one question here, and then I'm going to move into the next con of dating. Hibbert said, my question is, what makes people think they are single within said relationship with a person? What's going on in their psyche? I mean, we don't own anyone. Hibbert, can you please clarify that? I'm not sure I understood the question that you're asking, and I don't want to, just go into some rant about something. Heart Soul Vita said, some people might have conditions for exclusivity that vary. It's all about communication. I see a lot of people who are calling themselves ethically non-monogamous. I said this earlier. Absolutely. There are definitely different conditions for different relationships. To each his own. I'm not judging any type of relationship that you're in, but please communicate that with the other person that you're with, so that you know you're on the same level of understanding and that you agree to the same requirements or terms or conditions or behaviors that are acceptable in that relationship, and that you don't unintentionally hurt somebody when you could have avoided that by just communicating. All right. Next topic. How to handle breakups. All right, we just talked about that. That's one of the cons when it comes to let's see how many words is it? Yeah, when it comes to relationships and dating and dancing, is the breakup, right? If you're together and everything is rosy and beautiful and magical, amazing. That I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud, because I know that for you to be there means that you have had excellent communication. And I know that it hasn't been an easy route, because no relationship is smooth sailing. You had your ups and downs, but you talked about it. You communicated what you like, what you don't like, what's acceptable, what isn't unacceptable. Finding a compromise, respect for each other, and you made it through those challenges, right? More power to you. I'm very proud of you, and I wish you all the success and happiness in the future of your relationship. However, if it ends, then what? All right. Now, I've always been, I always say, you never know who someone is until shit hits the fan. That's the truth. Because everyone presents themselves in their best light. And why wouldn't we? Like, why would I be like, hey, you know what? I'm actually a really jealous, insecure person and want to date me? Right? No one's going to say that. Right? Even if they know that to be the truth. But oftentimes we don't even know that to be the truth because sometimes we don't even know who we are until the shit hits the fan. Okay. So if you're dating somebody, acknowledge, understand going in that you are meeting someone who is interested in you, who is presenting their best foot forward so that they can court you, so that they can connect with you. And you are doing the same thing, right? You are trying to present yourself so that you can set things up for a relationship, for something more in the future. Okay. When things end, it's hard to say how we're going to feel because, first of all, we don't even know what is the cause of the ending. Was the cause of the ending a conversation saying, hey, you know what, I don't feel the same way anymore. And I think it's probably better if we are not in this relationship and we're just friends. Cool. Yeah, I don't feel that anymore either. I agree with you. Let's end it. Everything's smooth sailing. Great. Right. That's one reason some things end. Sometimes it could be cheating or something that was really offensive or disrespectful. So now you are hurt, like personally hurt. Or it could be one person not feeling the same way and the other person still being very invested in the relationship. And so again, pain, right? How we deal with pain, how we deal with pressure, how we deal with those emotions of resentment, of anger, right? Really dictate like how we're going to react at the end of the day when things don't go our way or when things don't go smoothly, right? Breakups are one of those things. Even if you agree, it still hurts because here's somebody that you cared for, that you loved, you appreciated, you shared all these moments with, and your immediate past memory is only this person, right? So, one of the tips I would say when it comes to that is empathy first, right? Whatever you're feeling, just think about how you would want to be treated before you speak. You want to end something, don't just go to the person and be like, hey, you know what? It's not working out. Like, I'm out. How would you feel if somebody said that to you in those same words, in that same tone, with the same kind of callous disregard for your feelings? How would you feel? Because it doesn't take much for us to watch our words, for us to think about what we want to say, take the time to plot it out, script it out, vent with your friends, you know, your closer friends about, hey, listen, I think I want to end this relationship and these are all the reasons, you know, I want to say this. And then your friend might say, hey, listen, hey, that's harsh, man. Why would you say that? That's so rude. Why don't you say this instead? Oh, yeah, you know what? I didn't think about that. Thank you. I will communicate this way, which is more respectful and kind. So empathy and that kindness, first of all, should be in the forefront. The second element is avoid avoiding. Okay, avoid avoiding. And what I mean by that is there are many situations where we're like, I just don't want to hurt this person, you know, so I don't want to bring this up. Or maybe if I just kind of like do less and show less and interact in a different way, that eventually they'll get it and then they would end it, you know, and they'll feel more empowered because they brought this relationship to end, because it hurts to be broken up. Like, it's like rejection, right? We don't say, and I've done this, I've done a TED talk, I've done multiple videos and delved into this topic of rejection numerous times, right? We think by not saying no that we are saving someone from some sort of pain, you know, but in reality, when we give an uncommitted yes, a half-assed effort, right, and keep them engaged with us when we could not give them 100%, we're causing more pain in the end. We're causing more harm in the end. So rejection is like that. Breaking up is like that, right? If you're out, you're done, then don't sit there and again not take responsibility for your decision in your head and in your heart and not communicate that. Don't put that on the other person by saying, hey, I'm going to create some distance. I'm going to communicate differently and hope that this person ends it because they'll feel more empowered. You are not saving them from any pain. In fact, what you're doing is now prolonging a period of hurt and pain and confusion and a lack of clarity, right, in this person who's saying, I don't know what happened. Like, this person never said anything to me. They didn't say they don't feel differently, but all of a sudden their actions have changed, their words have changed, their behavior has changed, the level of intimacy and romance is gone. And I don't know what. And I keep asking, and they always say, it's fine, it's nothing, I'm just busy, I've got all these other things I got to think about. Whatever it is, you're prolonging that pain, and ultimately it's going to end. So they're going to feel the pain of the ending anyways, right? You're not going to avoid that. It's going to come. So be respectful to the person you're with. If you are out, say it. Tell that person, listen, I don't feel what I felt before. I don't think this relationship is for me. I appreciate all the time that I had for you. I loved you. I love you, whatever. Thank you for these times that we've shared together. I wished it could be a different outcome, but I don't feel it anymore, and I don't want to do anything to harm you, going forward, right? So that's one element, is the avoidance. Don't avoiding that conversation. It's necessary. When it comes to closure, okay, that's another element of the breakup. Closure, right? Because that whole avoidance part is not bringing closure to the relationship. Be clear and definitive, right, with your closure, because I know, and I'm speaking from personal experience, being on both sides of this coin, okay, of wanting to avoid and not really saying what I want to say, and same thing, hearing the same thing from the other person who's not really clear that they want this relationship to end. Be clear and definitive. One of the reasons is because, again, you're not prolonging this breakup, right? It's over, right? But there's there's this element of like a pros and cons ratio, as my friend said it, right? There's a ratio of pros and cons to the relationship. So we're together, I have all these pros, and now, like, let's say we're together for a year, and we've had a beautiful 11 months together, and this last month is kind of, things are fading, we're not really interacting the same way, I want out, right? If I don't say that, if I don't communicate that, and I prolong this for another who knows how long, that 12 months, which was dominated by 11 months of positive experiences and that 1 month of confusion and lack of clarity and kind of pain, is going to ratio out, right? So if I wait, we met in January, I'm feeling this stuff in November, December, and I don't end it, and I'm now making this relationship ugly and uncomfortable for both of us, right? And I'm not being respectful, and I'm not being fair, and I'm not being considerate. And now we are, what, next year, right? November of the following year. Well, half of this relationship was now great, and half of it sucked. Whereas if I actually communicated, the majority of that relationship, 11 months out of 12, would have been great, and 1 month would have been awkward. Now, 1 year out of 2 years was great, or 11 months out of 2 years was great, and 13 months was uncomfortable and bad, right? So think about that pros and cons ratio. When you think back on a relationship, do you want to remember a majority of positive things, or do you want to just have all the bad? You are going to focus on the bad, of course, when things are ending. Sure, for sure, you're going to think about the bad stuff, right? And you're going to feel hurt. But in retrospect, when you take that relationship as a whole, you want to have a ratio of pros over the cons. But the only way you can do that is by being honest and by communicating what it is that you want. And when you no longer want that relationship, communicating that too, so that you can move on, so that the other person can move on. Because again, you cannot avoid the ending if it's going to end. You're prolonging it is only prolonging the pain, the confusion, the lack of clarity, the lack of respect, actually, as well. That's what you're prolonging, right? And you're going to ruin that ratio, okay? Next part about closure is passive interest. Okay. And this is a dancing thing, but it could be, even even if you're not in the dance community, right? Is passive interest. And what do I mean by passive interest? It is you're trying to communicate with somebody. Let's say, for example, hey, things are not going well. Why don't we talk about it? And you're like, yeah, 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 sure, right? And you don't make time to talk about it, but you're on my Facebook and on my Instagram liking all my posts and heart 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 and all that kind of stuff, or sending me a message saying good morning, hey, how are you? But you're not taking the time to actually discuss the issue of the relationship and the possibility that we need to have a talk about ending it, right? That's passive interest. So don't engage in passive interest until you have the courage and the maturity to bring closure to that relationship. There's nothing wrong with liking and engaging with somebody, but you want to make sure that you're clear on what you're engaging, what level you're engaging on. Because if I'm in the position of saying, for example, if I'm in the position of saying, hey, listen, you know, uh, I want to talk about this. I feel like you're growing distant from me and I'm not sure what's happening. Are we like, can we talk? Right. And you're like, yeah, yeah, I'm just busy this week. I'm doing this. And all of a sudden you're just liking all my posts. So you're not busy enough to be on Instagram, scrolling on Instagram, but you're too busy to have an important conversation with your significant other. Right. That's what that's showing me. I would rather you take the time to say, hey, listen, I'm not interested anymore. And then go like all the posts that you want. Right. And if I have no problem with it, fine. And if I do have a problem with it, that brings me to my next point. Okay. In a breakup, and then I'm going to go back into some comments here. Okay, sorry, I know I started going off on a rant, and I told you guys that today's topic is going to be a little bit longer than usual. Our usual is like an hour, so we're 6 minutes over. The other element is going off of the passive interest part, right? Which is you don't do things to please the other person if you know that it's going to hurt you. All right. In many relationships, when things end, there's this comment, well, we can still be friends, right? Yeah, we could still hang out. Hey, we can still chat. We can still message each other, right? And sometimes we say yes to this, not understanding that every single reminder, every single notification on my phone that now brings up your face and your name hurts me because I'm thinking, oh, I didn't want it to end. This person ended it with me. And yes, I want to still stay friends. I don't want to lose this person completely, but this hurts every time I see this person because it's bringing me back to the relationship, which I'm not over yet. Right. So me agreeing to that and saying, yeah, sure, let's be friends. Sure, we can communicate is is me not respecting myself and not being clear, again, back to communication, not communicating what is healthy for me. Right. Um, that whole thing with like, let's be friends, etc. When something ends in most relationships, especially if it's a one-sided initiating and the other side's not like, yeah, you're right, you know what, I've kind of been feeling the same way. Most often when with breakups, there's one side that's like, hey, listen, I don't think so, and the other person's like, but why? I don't understand what happened, what did I do, right? And there's this confusion as to like yes, I know things were kind of rocky, but I didn't think it was ending, right? And so the person who's initiating in those situations, it's ended for them before they told you it's over, unfortunately. Okay. Because for me to come and say it's over, I had to sit there and process, is this working? Is it happening? Oh, I tried to communicate, but that didn't work. I'm not feeling, I just don't feel anything. I've been thinking about these things before I got to the point where I'm like, you know what? I need to, out of respect, I need to communicate that this is over. So for that person who's ending that relationship, it's over already. They're already emotionally divested. And for them, yeah, being friends with you is easy. They've been friends with you for the past couple of weeks already, right? In their head. But for you, it's not. You just broke up with this person, right? Or they just broke up with you. And so respecting yourself in that situation is communicating what you need to heal, right? What you need to grieve the relationship, what you need to recover from that breakup. And you have to communicate this out of respect for yourself, right? And there's nothing to say that there's permanence to any of these decisions. They're not permanent decisions, right? If someone says, "Hey, listen, I think it's over," and I'm sitting there and saying, "But I didn't think it was going that badly," and they're like, "Yeah, but Magna, it's over." I'm like, "Okay," and they're like, "Well, we can still be friends," and I know that that's going to hurt me. I'm going to say, "Look, I need some time. You know, I would really appreciate it if you don't reach out, if you don't communicate with me." He's like, "Oh, but I want to make sure you're fine." Don't worry, I have friends for that. I really need to take some space away from you, and it would really help me, to get over this breakup and get over this relationship, and hopefully I'll be ready soon to be friends with you, and maybe not. And that's the reality of it, right? You can't have your cake and eat it too type of thing, right? So when you end a relationship with someone, even if you were best friends before that intimate relationship started, maybe you will never be friends again. And that's the risk that you took by taking it to another level. But for the person that is on the side of consistent communication, or continued communication being hurtful to them, and impairing your ability to recover, right, from that, you need to communicate that with the person that you're with, that you're ending a relationship with, so that they can respect your space, right? And if things change and now you're all good, you see them out and you're like, "Hey, what's up? Yeah, long time. Oh, you're dating somebody. That's fantastic. Good for you," right? So that's really important. Edit Production says ghosting is even worse. Yep, ghosting is terrible, but most of the time, ghosting doesn't tend to happen. Ghosting doesn't tend to happen so much in like intimate relationships. I feel like it happens more in a casual dating relationship where people don't feel invested. But I think if you're a boyfriend and girlfriend, it's weird that somebody would ghost. Um, Esri said, "The next thing you know, they're dancing next to you." Okay, that is that the next thing on my agenda? Oh, almost there. So, last couple of things with regards to the breakup is going back to privacy. Okay. If you broadcasted everything online about your relationship, when it started, how it's going, and what you're eating, what you're doing next, and how much you love each other, breakup is going to be a difficult one to deal with, because now here's the, well, status update, right? We're not together, right? Again, you're probably at that point going to feel like it's nobody's business. This is my pain. I don't want to share my pain, even though I want to share all my happiness with everyone, right? I don't know how to advise you for that, to be honest. It's been many, many years since I've done anything public with my private life, so I don't exactly know how to advise you with that. But one thing I can tell you is show respect in whatever you're doing, because um, you don't want to sit there and be like, "Oh, it ended because." Don't don't bash anybody else, all right? Unless it's something that's important and urgent that needs to be brought to the attention of the entire world, like this person beat the shit out of me and has been beating every other person in the dance class or whatever. Okay, maybe everyone needs to know that, but also maybe bring that attention to the police or something too, right? But don't bash anybody, okay? As hurt and as painful as it may be, even if that person cheated on you, it's nobody else's business, really. Okay, you want to share that with your close friends, but don't put that stuff publicly. And I'll tell you why. Because it's ugly, right? It's ugly. And if you post that, like, you might sit there thinking, "Ooh, I'm gonna say, like, I'm gonna spill all the beans about this person, how they cheated on me, and that's why it's over, and screw this guy." And I guarantee you, there are gonna be a shit ton of people that are gonna come and be like, "Yeah, screw him. He doesn't deserve you. He's worth crap. Blah 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 blah." Okay, but I also guarantee you, there are a lot of people who are commenting or not commenting who have seen your post who think that you are ugly inside, because you're spilling your private life and the private life of somebody else out into the world when it's no one's business, right? So respect the privacy of the other person, respect your own privacy, because you don't want people getting into your business even further when it's over. You don't want people saying, "Oh, what happened? What exactly? Who did he cheat with?" Right? Or whatever. You don't want that. So if you had a public relationship, by all means, change your status. Um, but it's I would say it's not even necessary ultimately. Just let things progress as they progress. People forget, right? we're focused so much on our current timeline and whatever's scrolling through our feed that we don't even remember what happened last week. You start posting something about going out and playing sports with friends, and all of a sudden everyone's like, oh, cool. What sport did you pick up? Not even asking anymore about that relationship, right? So privacy and respect when it comes to and the end of a relationship is really, really, really important. um, good. So let me just go into a couple of facts months before or weeks, and for in terms of the timeline of when something ends within versus when it ends without. um I just said I prolonged mine and now I'm stuck. Yeah, actually it becomes harder because sometimes when you prolong a relationship a certain way by changing what's acceptable behavior and how you interact with that person, sometimes the person wants to be with you so much that they're like, okay, I'll take this too. Like, sure, you're not affectionate anymore. And yeah, you don't really say I love you all the time anymore. But I want to be with you, because I see all these other qualities and they accept that. And now they think that that's an acceptable relationship when in reality, you were hoping that all of those behaviors and actions would make them leave, right? Um, da, 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 da. Okay, love you and see it. If you don't believe me, I'll share wisdom. He then said, when I'm pull me aside. Some Okay, so words and actions need to match. Indeed, sometimes you tell them it's not working and they still don't care. That was exactly my point, Esri. All right, so a couple last points. We don't have that many more points to discuss on this topic. Again, if you are here for this live chat, if you're just joining, because again, I have been online for about an hour and 15 minutes now. If you are joining, if you have any questions, feel free to throw them into the comments. I would love to either share your comments and your experiences with everyone else because I am live on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. If you would like to support this channel, please take a look at the feedback form. That's really important because I would like to know what you gained from this particular live chat. Even if you've joined a live chat in the past, every live chat has a different topic. And so I'm sure that you'll be getting something different from each and every live chat. So if you can take 5 minutes to complete that feedback form, that would mean the absolute world to me. And of course, if you want to support the channel even further, all you need to do is in Facebook and on YouTube, if you just scroll down, you'll see it in the description. There's a coffee link. You can buy me a coffee. And if you are on Instagram, I believe there's badges here. If there aren't, shoot me a message. I'll be glad to give you my my Venmo or PayPal if you want to support the channel. Anyways, back into our topics. Keep your breakup info private. Social media definitely complicates relationships. Communication is important, even more so now. Not to the as follow up. That's Aristocrats asked a question: what are some ways to not give the wrong message as a follow while dancing without sacrificing dance chemistry and connection? Can you please, Iris, send me that as a DM, because I will not be able to talk about that today, but that is a excellent topic, and I would love to address that in a future live chat. And I don't want to lose it because as soon as the Instagram live closes, I will not be able to see any of these messages and comments. Okay. All right. So last couple of points. Talking about Esri's, how to handle seeing your ex with someone else. Okay. There's this one is definitely a challenge, and I have been there with very rarely in the situation where I'm dating somebody new and the person I was dating sees me with someone, because again, I generally try to avoid the dance scene. But if I am in the dance scene, it's more likely that the person I was dating is more comfortable with a public relationship, and the next person that person is dating, they do have a public relationship, and I do have to see them with this person out on the dance floor or at dance events, right? This kind of goes a little bit back into the whole element of respect, right? Respect for yourself and respect for the other person as well. Let me give you a couple of scenarios. Let's say the person that you were with cheated on you, now it ended, and now they're with that person. You're probably going to feel some emotion stirring up when you see this person. You're going to be hurt. You might even want to confront your ex or confront the person he or she's dating. And I advise you not to do that. Okay. Um, all it shows and proves is that you are incapable of controlling your emotions to rein them in. There is nothing wrong with the feeling. Okay. There's nothing wrong with feeling jealousy and envy and resentment and pain and anger. There's nothing wrong. These are human emotions. Okay. We all experience them. It's okay. But the more mature adult is able to rein them in, to muzzle that uh, volatile, emotional pit bull, okay, that wants to like go out and bite someone's arm off, okay. You're If you are able to conduct yourself maturely and responsibly, you are able to muzzle that. You can still express it, just not to that person, and most likely almost 100% not in that environment. Go speak to your best friends, have a nice late night call, go out for dinner with your best friend, and talk about all the things you hate and how upset you are about this and how upset you are about that. But don't bring that out into the public, and don't confront somebody with that information, because two things, okay? We're almost always just one decision away from like ruining our entire life, right? Like you decide you're walking outside and you're like, you know what, today I want to break that car window. You don't, right? Because the car parked poorly. Trust me, I feel that many times because people park poorly all the time, but I don't have a car, so I'm not really that personally invested. I just passenger rage, right? Or pedestrian rage at the inconsiderate nature of people. But I would never do that. Why? Because that decision will probably get me arrested. I will have a criminal record. And then what? How does that jeopardize my future, right? Getting into a fight, getting upset at somebody and being like, oh, I could just punch that person in the face. The decision to punch that person in the face, same thing. Could be arrested, could be this, could be that, could be maybe I get beat up really badly, and now I've got like a broken teeth and all that kind of stuff, right? So we're always just a decision away from possibly ruining many things. Okay. A decision like that to confront somebody in public and to make a scene and to express all of your jealousy and your anger and your resentment is one of those decisions. Okay. If you see somebody that, let's go back to the example of someone who has cheated on you and now is out with that other person, right? Instead of going and unleashing on them, look at it like good riddance. you know, good riddance. You were um, like shitty to me, or you cheated on me, you lied to me. I don't need somebody like this in my life. You're better off with that person. Go ahead, live your life, live a happy life, right? If it didn't end poorly and it was maybe not maybe it was amicable but still painful because it was one-sided predominantly, right? Same thing. Look at that person and you can reminisce and say, hey, you know what? I remember some good times with you. I'm sorry it didn't work out, but we still had our good times. I wish you the best, because wouldn't you want someone to wish you the best if you had then found somebody that you want to be with? Or would you want them to sit there and constantly say, oh, no, it's not good. Your relationship's not good. I'm going to try and sabotage it and ruin it. You wouldn't want that for yourself. So have that empathy and exercise that empathy and express that empathy, right? But in all cases, I would never, and I see it, and it hurts me because I'm like, you think you're damaging that person by making a scene and bringing this stuff to light by calling them out or whatever it is. You think you're damaging that person? Sure, maybe, but you're damaging yourself even more, just because, again, back to reflection on you, right? Even like a public post or whatever, back to reflection on you. What it shows the world is you are incapable of controlling your expressions, that you are just purely impulsive and pure emotion, right? And that I don't know if I want to share anything with you. Forget the relationship, right? I don't know if I'd ever want to share anything with you, even as a friend or even as a social acquaintance, because I don't know how you'll react if you get upset. Maybe you'll lash out at me. So I'm going to keep my distance. So understand and acknowledge that those kind of actions and those behaviors do reflect poorly on you ultimately. You will be judged for them, right? And finally, on that note, let's go back to that pit bull analogy, right? If you muzzle your dog, like if you release that dog, even if you bring that dog back, but they've bitten somebody, that's a scar you cannot erase. And most of the time, and I have experienced this on the receiving end, right, of a relationship ending and the guy kind of doing some things that were hurtful, and at post end of the relationship doing things that were hurtful, and in the moment he was like, whatever, I'm doing myself, like screw her, I don't have to tell her this, I don't have to share this with her, right? And I can date whoever I want and act however I want, right? And I allowed all of it. I was in pain, it hurt, like I felt disrespected, but I muzzled my emotional, that volatile emotional, like, dog inside, right? I muzzled that and I communicated that with my friends and I got through all of that. Eventually, this person came back to me and said, hey, listen, I was immature at that time. I was immature and I wasn't thinking, and I had all these other voices around me kind of thinking the same way and saying, yes, you don't have to talk to her. You don't have to, like, tell her that you're going to be at this place or blah, 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 whatever it is, right? Like, they had other voices. And point is, at this state, they're now mature enough to acknowledge that they did something wrong. And now it's an apology, right? And seeking forgiveness. And yeah, sure, I forgave it because people change. But if you didn't take that muzzle off and you kept your dog on a leash, I would have never gotten bit in the first place. And you would never have to apologize, right? So think about it like that. You cannot um, take back the things you put out into the world. You can only make excuses and reasons and apologies and justifications and seek forgiveness for whatever's out there that you don't like. You can't take it back, right? And as far as the forgiveness is concerned, that is no longer up to you. You can seek it, but you're not guaranteed it just because you sought it, right? So if you're in that situation, okay, and this goes to both parties, right? If it ends, and if you're in a relationship and you feel jealous about somebody who's now dating someone else and you're seeing them around and they're acting in this flamboyant nature and trying to rub things in your face or whatever the case is, right? And they're actually being intentionally hurtful. Muzzle that emotion, don't let it come out, right? And likewise, if you're the other person who thinks all of a sudden this is acceptable behavior when goddamn right it isn't, right? Inside it isn't, and you would have felt hurt if somebody was doing that to you. Be mindful of that too. Those actions that are hurtful, if you mature and you get to that point, might need to seek forgiveness. So why not just avoid that action, right? You can think it, you can communicate it to your best friends, but just don't do it, right? Don't act on that impulse because it doesn't benefit anybody, okay? All right, last couple of comments here. And if it ended well, one-sided, wish them well, exactly. And it could be you're just a Scarborough. Oh, Morenazo in the house. Dwayne in the house. Seeing your ex with someone else, you have to be strong in understanding that your time with said person is done and vice versa, and you must learn emotional intelligence overall. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so the last hey, Barry, this is my very first chat with you, and it's awesome. You got to come to all the other ones. We do a monthly live chat every month on Wednesdays at 12 p.m. right now, at least. Obviously, we're at 1:30 p.m. now, still continuing on this topic, but every month I do a live chat. I try and pick a topic, and I try my best to outline things that we can discuss that can actually help us in our relationships and whatnot. Okay, so going forward, okay, last Manolo in the house too. All right, cool. Okay. Last, I think this is my last thing. Yes, it is. Okay. How to renew your passion. Okay. This is specifically related to mainly dating in the dance scene because you meet somebody who also shares the passion with you. Maybe you met them as soon as you started and your entire passion is revolves around this relationship, or maybe you've been in the dance community for some time and now you met somebody and now you're pursuing something intimate within that dance community, right? Your relationship ends. What to do, right? Because now, every time you think of dance, you think of this person. When you go out, maybe you see this person, and now that community, that space that you felt was your space, right? My salsa scene, even though you're sharing it with like millions of other people around the world, but that space is now no longer your space. It is the space of the relationship that is now ended. And unfortunately, it brings back some memories and some emotions that you don't want to deal with. First, first, first piece of advice would be take the time if you need the time, okay? Because you, everyone requires a different process to deal with things that are painful and emotional or anything like that, right? We all have a different process. We all have a different timeline. Okay. Some people get over things really quickly and they're back out there and everything's fine. And other people require a couple of months to recover from things, right? And there's no prescribed time that applies to everybody. So if you feel like you need time, take that time. However, keep things in perspective, right? There are um, three things, I guess, I would like to narrow this down to. First thing is compare the relationship to the majority of your life. Okay. I'm 41, as I said. If I was dating someone for a year, that feels like a long time. And that is a present moment to me. That is very, very present. Um, but that's 1 year of 41, right? In proportion to my entire life, it's a very small part. So for me to sit there and feel like, oh my God, the world is ending, of course not. Come on, right? The second comparison there is to compare it to the fact that you probably have had other relationships. You know, if you haven't had any other relationship and this is your first one, now it's a breakup and now it's ugly and that's painful. I'm not sure what to say to you, but I promise you it will get better because that's just how life is. But most likely you have had another relationship. You have had a relationship where you've struggled, where it was an ugly breakup or it was an amicable breakup. Whatever the case is, you probably had another experience like this. Go back to that. Remember the pain, right? Remember the difficulties and remember the outcome. Like, remember the result. Remember where you came from that experience, that you, in fact, did grow. You were able to recover. You grieve the relationship. You still maybe appreciate the relationship, but you've learned your lessons and you're better off as a result. This relationship that's ended is no different. You will have that same outcome, right? But sometimes we forget that we have experienced difficult things in the past and we forget to use them as a reference for our strengths, our inner strengths, and as tools to help us to keep on moving forward and overcome this challenge as well, right? Another element is, especially if it is a bad relationship, right? Just look at it as, again, back to what I was saying before, which was look at it as a dodged bullet. You could have been with this person for 20 years with a house and kids and mortgages and businesses and all that kind of stuff. And then imagine if it ended, right? So if something ended and it wasn't working out, and yes, it might feel ugly to you and it might be painful, but just look at it like, this was not the person for me. I'm glad I did not invest any more time in this, you know? And then finally, with the community, the dance community has existed for decades, right? And it's going to exist for decades more. So it will still be there, even if you take the time, right? Sometimes we feel like, oh, if I stop dancing now and, you know, what's the point of even coming? It's still going to be there and people will still welcome you. And if there are people who have chosen sides as a result of your relationship ending and now you come in there for that conflict, my last advice there is go back to the dance, the essence of the dance. When we dance with somebody and we are completely present and connected in that dance, and that's really why we went out, right? Like, I mean, at least for me, some people do go out to the socials and hang out and talk and chill and drink and, you know, all that stuff. I go out to the socials and pretty much dance the first song until the last song and then ask for another song and then leave if they tell me they're not going to play another song, right? But take your focus back to the dance, right? Take your focus back to that one moment that you are sharing with one other person. When I'm dancing with someone, nothing else matters. The world around me disappears. It's just me and my partner. Me, my partner, and the music, rather, right? There's nobody else. I don't know who else is there. I don't know who walked into the dance floor, walked onto the dance floor. I don't know who's maybe making a big joke in the corner and everyone's laughing. I don't know who's making out or who's sitting there pointing at me and criticizing me. I don't know any of that. I don't see any of that because I'm so committed to the present moment with my partner, right? So if you have a difficult time going back into dancing, the last thing you want to be doing is standing around observing, because all you're going to see are the things that you don't want to see. And unfortunately, we gravitate towards the things that have consumed a lot of our energy and our attention. And that could have been the relationship that just ended. And so you can't help yourself, right? But being like, I wonder what he's doing. Oh, he's over there now. Oh, who's that person that did? I'm like, because I'm standing around. Right? My mind's curious. I'm curious. I want to know. I want to know. I want to know. So why don't I take that curiosity and put it to a more productive and constructive purpose, like getting curious about how I can connect with my partner, right? So that's one approach that you can take when it comes to dancing and renewing your passion or returning to the dance scene, right? Especially if it is an awkward situation for you with seeing an ex around, especially if it was a bad ending or even if it was good or if they're with somebody else, whatever the case is. Focus on that dance with the person that you're dancing with, and then find your next partner and have another dance and put that curiosity, put all of that beautiful creative energy that you have, all of that love and appreciation you wish you could show to someone else, show it to that dance, show it to your partner, show it to yourself, in your expression and your creativity. Like, that's one way to approach it, right? And ultimately, going back to a talk done with regards to rejection, um, is is sorry, rather, let me skip that a little bit for a second. Those are the ways to kind of renew your passion, right? Going back into the dance. The last final part with every relationship is to learn and to grow and to be better for the next, right? Like I said before, I am not going to pretend I'm not in a glass house, and that's why I'm not throwing stones, right? I've had my share of experiences. I have done stupid things. I have said the wrong things. I've been cheated on. I've cheated in my past, right? But at the end of the day, every relationship has taught me more about myself. I've increased that awareness of who I am, what are my values, what is respectful and what isn't, what's acceptable behavior and what isn't. How can I communicate this better with someone that I'm with? What do I really want in a relationship? What do I want from someone? What do I need? Right? These are things that I have through every relationship learned and increased and deepened my understanding of these things. If you are ending relationships and you are not having this moment of reflection and growth, you're losing a beautiful opportunity to do so, because there's so much to learn from relationships. Again, I was saying before, you never know what happens or you never know who somebody is, including yourself, until shit hits the fan. A breakup is one of those shit hits the fan moments, And so if you're not taking that opportunity to say, who am I really? Right? This is a very stressful, painful, pressured situation for me. Who am I showing up as? Do I like who I am? If I don't, what can I improve? Right? Do I not have a muzzle that's big enough for everything I'm feeling? Well, let me go buy that, right? Or am I not communicating properly? Let me improve that, right? So they're all opportunities for us to learn and to improve. The final thing is the choosing wisely, right? The other element of a relationship ending and this growth and awareness that we want to develop, learning from it, is understanding why you're making your choices. Because I'm sure we know, and we've done it. I've done it for sure, right? You keep on dating the same type of person, and you keep on feeling the same disappointments and the same stresses and same confusion, right? And you keep on pointing the finger at that person that you're dating without taking a moment and saying, wait a minute, why am I dating people like this nonstop? Like, what is wrong with my decision making that I am unable to see flags or unable to judge somebody's character, right? And choose better. So if you're coming out of an unhealthy relationship, right, or a bad ending, take a moment to think about how you got into it in the first place. Was it impulsive? Like, did you see somebody and you were drinking or something and you hooked up, and because of the hookup, all of a sudden you're like, well, I don't sleep around, so this has to be a relationship. I'm going to make it into a relationship. Well, maybe mind yourself when you're drinking, right? And don't let that progress to that, because this is the kind of decisions you've been making since, right? So you want to take that opportunity at the end of a relationship to assess those things, develop that self-awareness, but also understand why you got into the relationships that you did. What did you like about them? What did you not like about them? How could you approach them differently so that, again, you can be a better person, you can bring something better to the table, and you can pick a person who is going to be able to bring something good to you too, right? At least the majority of it is good. So the pros ratio to the cons ratio is significantly high, right? Okay, so that, I think, would summarize today's topic. Again, appreciate everybody being online for this entire time. We're 1 hour and 1 minute and 40 seconds, 1 hour and 40 seconds. If you are here, please, please, please take a moment to complete the feedback form. I would really appreciate it. It would mean the world to me. We've been here for almost 2 hours. It will take you 5 minutes, okay, to share something with me in return. And again, it's a great place to ask questions and also to share anything that you want to share privately that you didn't really necessarily want to put into the comments, because, again, public, right? And as always, I always respect everyone's privacy. And if there's something you want me to address anonymously, I will gladly take care of that as well. If you did pose a question and I did not get a chance to get to it, same thing, feedback form, throw it into the feedback form, because that's one place that I can go to find everything. Sending me a DM or sending me a email or whatever, it's going to be hard for me to keep track of it, and I might miss it. Okay. Again, to support the channel, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, share. And if you want to support in an even more generous way on the Facebook and on YouTube, if you look in the descriptions, there's a link to buy a coffee. You can buy me a coffee, and I'd be glad to have a coffee on you. Thank you. And if you're here on Instagram, you can do the same. Badges, I believe, are available, but I never know with Instagram what's going on. So if you do want to send something, you can always send me a text or something. I'd be glad to give you the Venmo or PayPal link or something. And finally, to summarize for today, pros and cons. There's pros and cons to dating in the dancing, dating out of the dancing, to dating in general, right? There's pros and cons to it. Ultimately, it's the communication. Ultimately, it boils down to what is the level of communication that you have with your partner? How effectively can you communicate that? And how respectfully can you communicate, right? And how respectfully can you receive communication? Because if you are easily offended by things, then it doesn't matter how well I communicate, it's going to be really hard for you to process it. Now we're never just going to be at the same level, right? It's important also for us to communicate changes, right? We're very good at sometimes at that first stage and saying, hey, so are we boyfriend and girlfriend? Or listen, it's going to be casual or whatever, right? We're good at that. But as things change, we sometimes don't take the step to communicate those changes and clarify whether we are on the same page. And then if it works out, fantastic, you're doing a great job, and more power to you and more success to you. If it doesn't work out, right? There are so many elements and factors, but at the end of the day, you want to make sure you show up respecting yourself and respecting the other person, right? In the way you communicate, trying to show empathy where you can so that you can show up in a way that is your best self, right? And then being mindful of the impulses that you have to react on the emotions that you feel, so that you don't do something that you are later going to regret or later going to need to seek forgiveness for. Because again, once you've done it, it's out there. right? It's out in the world. And yes, you can seek forgiveness for all the bad things that you've done, but no one is obligated to forgive you. Okay, that's not guaranteed. So you could do permanent damage to the relationships in your life just by not muzzling those volatile and aggressive and possibly verbally violent emotions, right? Expression of emotions. Um, and yes, and I think that's everything. I don't want to keep you guys even further, but thank you everyone on Instagram, Esri, Heber, Ben. I don't remember everyone else, as well as here, William. How can we get the good dancers to go back to dancing in clubs? For another topic, William, not really related to the dancing part of it. But everybody who's here, thank you very much for showing up. The replay for the entire chat will be available on YouTube. I think it takes maybe like 15 or 20 minutes to process, but it'll be available there for you guys to take a look. And again, if you are sharing anything from this, maybe a friend of yours needs to hear this, or an ex, who knows, right? If you're sharing anything, you can clip from YouTube. I think it allows you a 1-minute clip max. And if you do share it, send me tag me in it. And if not, also, rather, not if not, but also, please leave a comment on the YouTube channel. Please like the YouTube channel, help these channels grow. It takes a lot of effort to even research the topic and decide what I'm going to do to outline all of these topics, to come online like this and set everything up so I can present everything to you. The feedback that you provide is so appreciated. And of course, the simple act of liking, the channel and subscribing is like such a huge gesture for me, and it makes it a lot easier for me to, one, continue doing what I'm doing, because I know that I'm getting feedback that is helping all of you. And also I know that I can even reach more people, right, with this message, and who knows how many other people could benefit from hearing it. So that is all up to you in terms of how you guys subscribe, like, and share. Okay. So thank you very much for hanging out with me today on a Wednesday afternoon. It was a long chat. I warned you. Amazing how long I can talk for, right? I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but here we are. I look forward to hearing from all of you. Again, you're always welcome to send me a message, a DM, if you ever have any personal comments or questions that you want me to address. But ideally, the feedback form, magnagopal.com/feedback, is the best place to do it, just because it's all in one place. And I go there regularly to, review the new entries and see what I can address in the future. Cool. Have a lovely, lovely, lovely day. Enjoy the rest of your week. And I hope some of this helped you in terms of how you deal with your breakups. If you're the one ending it, if someone ended it with you, if you're seeing your exes on the dance floor and it's difficult, or if you're in a beautiful, healthy relationship with excellent communication, you get to share your passion with that person. That's amazing. I'm very happy for you, and I wish you the absolute best. So, love you all. Have a great day. Bye, bye, bye. And of course, the awkward ending, right? Where I'm like, where's the button to end this and end that? All right, that's good. Bye, guys.